Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? So, the long wait is over. Update 26, locked and loaded, is here for Fallout 76, bringing with it new daily ops, camp slots, special loadouts, and a whole host of other things, including the new season, and a few very, very cool things in the patch notes today that they have not mentioned before that I am really, really pleased to see and quite excited for some of these things. Some really, really cool takes on stuff in here, which is awesome to see. So, let's jump in and take a look at all this, shall we? Okay then, so quite a sizable one I suspect today, given the patch notes are, as expected, quite extensive. I'll try and breeze through the major features reasonably swiftly, as we know most of those, and I will cherry pick the most important stuff out of the improvements and bug fix section as well, rather than listing everything, because otherwise this would be really, really long. But as usual, I'll link the patch notes down below, so if you want to take a look for yourselves, you absolutely can do. And particularly with the bug fixes, if there's anything you've got in mind, I would recommend doing that. There's some cool stuff in there. But as I say, I will pick out some of the particularly interesting stuff on there, because there is some very, very cool stuff in that as well. So, first and foremost, awesome new painting artwork piece for the new update, which is very, very cool. Everybody's packing the Gauss rifle there like that. Very cool. Really, really interesting to see the kind of painting style they've been going for lately. It looks great. But we'll skip over the update highlights and jump straight to the patch size. So, if you haven't already, I strongly recommend you get that download underway pronto, because it's big, this one. Just not hugely surprising. It's been a while. The longer the time between updates, the larger the patches tend to get. But there you go. So, for those on Bethesda Net on PC, 22 gigabytes. Those on Microsoft Store on PC, brace yourself, 62. Steam, you lucky sods, you've got 11 gigabytes to download. PlayStation 4, strap yourself in, 58 gig. And Xbox One, unfortunately, you are the really unlucky ones today, because this is 65.7. Worth noting, of course, that this doesn't mean you're going to need that amount of hard drive space once it's actually installed. It's going to overwrite a lot of existing files, obviously, so it won't increase the amount of space the game is taking up by that amount, but you will need to download this wodge of information, so brace yourselves and get cracking early would be the advice there, I think. So, features. Season 4, Armor Ace and Cold Steel. Kicking off Season 4 and introducing an all-new scoreboard with the arrival of today's Locked and Loaded update. Join Armor Ace and the Power Patrol as they seek to put an end to their frigid rivalry with Commissioner Chaos and his band of rogue robots, the Yukon 5. So, rank up, as usual, there's 100 ranks, and with that, a whole load of new rewards as well, which is very, very cool, including power armor paints. There are some really sweet-looking ones on there. Weapon skins, outfits, themed cosmetics even, camp items, in-game currencies, consumable, perk card packs, and more. So, basically the usual spread of stuff, but with a whole load of new outfits, skins, and the like, as we would expect. So very, very cool. We've added prior season rewards, the Antique Speed Bag and Perfect Bubblegum, to Mortimer in the Crater and Samuel in Foundation, so that you can now purchase those with gold bullion. Still no word yet on whether or not the greenhouse pieces are going to make their way in for a bullion purchase. I'm honestly surprised they haven't yet, but that is what it is. Keep your eyes open. If we hear anything more on it, obviously we'll let you know, but for now we're going to have to wait on that. And as usual, a couple of extra bonuses as you progress through the season if you are a Fallout First member, so just a couple of extra things you can pick up along the way. Mannequins is one of the hotly anticipated things that are appearing in this season, so definitely worth getting at least a rank 25 for this one, and 25's not that hard to hit either, so that's always cool. Mannequins are effectively display cases, which will allow you to show off some of your favourite outfits, your headwear, your under armour, and, which we didn't know previously, backpacks, which is cool. So, make sure it's not facing the wall, I guess. But yes, you can claim a set of male and female mannequins, it's the same thing, for your camp by reaching rank 25 on the Season 4 scoreboard, and you can build up to 5 mannequins per camp or shelter, which is cool. As before, you can check out the article on seasons if you would like, or you can check out my previous video on the subject. As I say, all of them are going to be links up there for the pertinent subjects. Special loadouts. So, begging for this for a long time. I know we're all excited and we've all gone over this before, so let's make it quick. They offer even more adaptability to your characters as they face the Wasteland's ever-growing threats by allowing you to modify or completely reboot your special attributes for free. Visit a punch card machine any time to adjust your special to your heart's content, change your perk card selections, and save your new custom setup into a slot. You'll gain access to it at level 25. Not quite sure why that restriction's in place. I guess, well, it doesn't make a vast amount of difference. Under level 25, you've not got a lot of perk cards and special points to move around anyway. And I suppose when you've got new players, the level up system is enough for them to wrap their heads around anyway without dumping all this extra info on them right at the start. So there's that. But for the most of us, it won't make a great deal of difference, I don't think. It's just my feeling. So, currently, each character can have up to 2 special loadout slots, and you can swap between them using a punch card machine. So the interesting word here is the currently thing, because camp slots we also get 2 of. And we'll go on to that in just a moment, but it doesn't say currently there. We know that with special loadouts, they're planning on allowing you to buy additional slots so you can save additional loadouts via the Atomic Shop at some point. No idea what the price might be or when that might happen, but we'll have to wait and see. So definitely looking forward to that, but they haven't mentioned it for camp slots, although it would logically be a thing. So that's a little odd. I know most of us for camp slots would like at least 3 slots, particularly those of us who are avid builders will probably want even more than that. I know I would, so we'll have to wait and see on that, but fingers crossed that will appear eventually anyway. But, continuing with special loadouts, at level 25 you learn the plan to build punch card machines automatically, so you can go and build it in your camp. Those of you who are already over that level, you'll just know it when you log in today, which is very, very cool. While in your camp, open up the build menu, navigate to the crafting tab, select the machine, place it down, as per. So, on the crafting tab, we've also placed punch card machines at train stations and in the crater and foundation, which is handy, and of course you can use them if you find them at other players' camps as well. In the regular level up screen, the move the point option has been removed, so you can no longer spend a level to transfer a special point from one attribute to another, because this makes it kind of pointless. So that makes sense, simplifies that system back to actually the way it more or less was when the game first launched, which is interesting. Obviously, none of this will impact your legendary perks for those who have them. Those are intended to be a more permanent decision, and any changes are intended to be weightier decisions themselves as well, so swapping them on the fly is not part of this. And as usual, links to their previous articles. So, camp slots. This one's a tad more expansive. Have you ever found the perfect slot to start building a new Appalachian home, but just couldn't bring yourself to tear down your current camp? The difficult decision is a thing of the past with camp slots. Kind of. Which allow you to build and maintain 2 camps at once. It's emphasis on 2 here, yet the drop-down menu is more than big enough to have probably up to about 8. So, I don't know, maybe we'll get more in the future, I hope so, but it's 2 for the moment. So we're going to have to hold out and wait for Bethesda to be more forthcoming on this particular topic, which I'm sure sooner or later they will. So each camp you now construct is saved in a camp slot, which you can access and manage via the new camp slots menu in the upper left corner of your map. You can use the camp slots menu to see all of your current camp slots, rename them, choose their map icons, and change whether or not your camp is visible to other players on the map. The names, of course, will only be visible to you. You can have one camp active at a time, and others will be considered stored. So you can only have one active camp at a time. Your active camp will appear on the map for everybody, that is assuming you set it to do so. You can have your camp active but not visible to other people, and you can do that even if you have vendors on as well if you'd want. Can't imagine why you would, but it's an option. Equally, you have to manually switch your vendors on to appear on the map. Just powering them won't do it. So bear that in mind. You do have to go into this menu and make sure you activate public icons if you do want people to turn up to peruse your selection. So, vending machine and display case updates. A couple of big changes here. Again, we've covered this already, but the simple gist of it is you no longer need to have 4 vending machines in a camp to have the full access to all the slots. 1 will do it. Might be worth considering the time of day you're on, though, if you decide to have just the one vendor in your camp, because people could end up queuing up for them, and you might, lose out on business if they don't want to wait. So you might want to consider having additional vendors so that more people can access them at once, particularly if you tend to play, say, early evening or on weekends, peak time. So something to think about there, but still, you can have just the one vendor and have access to the full list. Vending machine lists are also shared across your camps, so both camps will have the same list, which means you should no longer have to reallocate everything every time you move, which I am so thankful for, because that was getting old. So a very, very nice little update there. However, refrigerators, fermenters, things like that, those will also share, but your display cases will not. Display cases will be unique to each camp so that you can basically display whatever items you like and keep it in keeping with the theme of whatever build you happen to have in a given location. Display cases and vendors are also available in shelters now, which I know there are mixed feelings on. Personally, I don't think a little loading screen here and there is that big a deal. Yeah, it takes a bit longer. It's not the end of the world. But that is a thing. I'd be more concerned personally about the possibility of people putting traps and so on inside their camps and luring you in with vending machines, inside their shelters rather. So if you're going to do that, maybe make sure you've left all of your junk behind at your camp before you go exploring other people's vendors. Just worthwhile consideration. So display cases, again, will be unique within shelters. However, your vending machines will link to any outside of shelters, and they will share the same list again. So that's more or less what we'd expect. And finally, a very, very cool change that they had not mentioned before, unless I completely missed it, which I suppose is possible. Items you put in display cases no longer consume camp budget. Yes! This is basically a result of their ongoing efforts to improve the functionality of the servers on the back end. So basically, they run better, they can handle more items and process more without slowing down and crashing, in short. So they're now able to basically allow you to place as many things in display cases as you like, up to the limit of the number of display cases anyway, without having to worry about your budget being taken up by it, which, yeah, that is a wonderful feature, and just a little thing on the end there, but I'm very, very happy about it. So, as usual, links to the article there, and my video in the corner. So, Daily Ops expansion. This is cool as well. There's some interesting stuff here. For most of us, I think it's worth noting that Daily Ops are going to get a lot harder, particularly those like me who prefer to solo Daily Ops. It's going to be a lot more difficult to do. I think the public teams feature for Daily Ops is going to get a lot more use following this update because, yikes. This new type of Daily Op in particular, decryption, is punishing. Or it can be, anyway. So, today's update nearly doubles the amount of Daily Ops content with the addition of a new decryption mode, as well as new locations, enemies, mutations, and rewards, of course. So, the new decryption mode, as we know, sends you on a mission to disable 3 radio interceptors for Vernon Dodge. To do this, you need to hunt down 3 enemy code carriers and then take them down to get a special code that you can use to disable a radio interceptor. Each time you do, a new wave will emerge that you have to defeat, get the new code, so on and so forth, and each wave will be significantly more difficult than the last, up to and including the boss, and then pulling the final plug on the last interceptor. So, a very cool change that is coming with this that will apply to all Daily Ops is that once you do complete it, so you either shut down the final interceptor in the new decryption mode, or you defeat the boss in uplink, all other enemies will instantly go pop, and that will end the op. You won't have to worry about them coming up behind you while you're trying to loot or anything like that. So it wraps it up a lot more smoothly. Funnily enough, this is not actually mentioned in this Daily Ops expansion section. It's down in the improvements bug fixes section, but it's there. So a bit of a weird organisation, but that's a cool little feature to note as well. So the new mutations. The new decryption mode has a new default mutation, as we would expect. It's Savage Strike, which makes their attacks more deadly and causes them to ignore your armor resistances, so massive armor penetration on these attacks. That goes right through power armor, it'll go right through your ordinary armor. It is brutal if you get caught out. Your health can drop very, very quickly, so be aware of that. They are also considerably more accurate as well, so that is also worth bearing in mind as well. It can be quite punishing, as I say. There are several new mutations added to the randomized pool that can appear in any Daily Op, whereas Savage Strike is just limited to the decryption mode. And that is group regeneration, so when enemies are clustered together, they will start healing, which is not a big deal really. It's not the fastest regeneration in the world, so it's not a big problem. Swift-footed enemies, however, are really, really fast, so makes it hard to hit them. Those who favour that probably will have less issues, I would imagine, but those who free aim, such as myself, yeah, they get hard to hit. So worth bearing that in mind. That can catch you out on occasion, particularly with things like scorched dogs. And the toxic blood one, that's a bit of a mixed bag. On the surface of it, not too bad, but particularly when combined with Savage Strike on decryption, it can mount up quite quickly to amass a lot of damage on you very quickly. So don't stand in the green pool, is the advice there. New enemy types have added Scorched, Mothman Cultist, and Mole Miners to the randomized pool that can appear in any Daily Op. And these new types have additional secondary enemies just to make things a bit more interesting. So more than just the default enemies, which I will leave you to find out for yourself if you haven't already. There are some fun stuff in there and a couple of fairly horrible things as well. So have fun with that. New locations. Vault 96 is the only outright new location, but that one is very, very cool. Quite large though, so be aware. Watoga Raider Arena only appears in the one quest so far, I believe, and that would be with Johnny Two Guns Western as part of the Wastelanders quest line, so good to see that getting some more use. And West Tech, which has had a little bit of a tweak to it in the ops. It's exactly the same when you're not in an op, but when you are, there are a few areas that have been opened up to allow you more ways to path through the environment, and there are sort of doors that are locked that were locked rather that are no longer. So you again allows you to move more freely around the location, which is a good little change, I think. And rewards updates. We have a whole host of new rewards as per usual, including Covert Scout Armor is the armor set this time. It's similar to the regular Scout armor except it's black and it has shadowed benefits, so helps you sneak. It does look pretty slick actually, gotta say, very cool. There is the Unstoppable Monster and Medical Malpractice legendary weapons that you can learn to craft. That previously appeared in the old survival mode, the PvP game mode, that got removed about 18 months ago now, I think. That was an interesting experiment, and you could get every week or so a different legendary item as a reward for completing certain objectives in that game mode. Now those are coming back bit by bit as part of Daily Ops, which is cool. It means you can reclaim some of those very cool rewards if you missed out in the past. And a whole load of camp objects as well, some of which are pretty cool and will expand the existing collections of things as well, so there's cool stuff in there. So, following community feedback, you're going to like this one. We have rebalanced Daily Ops rewards lists to give players a better chance at getting rare rewards. So some of the existing rare items are being moved into the uncommon list, so they'll drop more frequently, which should mean any outstanding items will be easier to get from the last set of updates. And the new ones should apparently drop a little bit more frequently as well, so hopefully you'll have a better chance of getting everything on this particular run-through. Obviously, there is a new Daily Ops update due later in the year following this one, so we should have a whole new load of new stuff coming in as well. So as the pool gets bigger, having more opportunities to get things makes sense, really. So yeah, reduced RNG, I think, is very, very welcome for most of us at the very least. I'm certainly happy about it. So, additional design updates. Melee attack updates. We've implemented a number of fixes, tweaks and improvements to melee attacks so that your strikes more consistently meet their targets. Doesn't say anything about enemies, but in general, melee combat in the brief amount of time I had with it did feel a lot tighter, a lot more responsive, so that should be a satisfying change for those of you who favour melee combat, and should be great for Daily Ops when you have resilient enemies too. Hunt for the Treasure Hunter is getting a little update. That's going to have a whole host of new rewards added into it when that event returns later next month, so that should be cool. And there are a couple of UI changes on top of everything else we've already discussed, which are cool. Those are aim assist for those of you using controllers. If you want to snap your crosshairs manually a little bit more easily, then that is an option now. If you don't want to use that, it is toggleable in the menu, so head into the settings and you'll be able to turn it on or off as you please there. Batch crafting is now available, which provides a slider that allows you to craft multiple objects in one go rather than spamming the craft button, which is awesome. It should make the buttons on your controllers and keyboards last a little bit longer, which would be great. So, as we have previously discussed, Super Duper still works as you would expect it to. You get the same number of opportunities for it to tick as you did before if you're using that. If you are crafting single items, the number on the slider will represent exactly the number of items you're going to get. If the item you're crafting, like ammo, is already kind of batched, so maybe 25 bullets, it will be how many groups of 25 you get. And the World Activity updates. The World Activity menu now includes more than just Daily Ops. That makes sense, it's a good thing. It will now help you stay up to date with many more activities, including active nuke zones, events, and nearby player vending machines, giving you an easy way to find and fast travel to them. So if you're looking for something to do, or a particular world-type activity, you can save yourself scrolling all around the map and just look in the bottom corner. It should be there and listed for you, which is very, very nice. It was an underutilized resource, that one. Okay, so we are getting on to improvements and bug fixes, which are all lumped together. This list is extensive, to say the least. I'll scroll rapidly so you can have a look. Yeah, it keeps on going. So there's plenty in here. We would expect that. So as I said before, I will cherry pick my way through this as we have been going for more than long enough already. There are some very, very cool things, and I do recommend you take a look via the link in the description and see if there's anything you're particularly looking out for here. There are some things that are particularly worth noting, but let's get into it. Power Armor. Portions of the Raider Scabber, Raider Waster, and Armor Ace Power Armor sets no longer block part of the screen when using heavy weapons in first-person view. So you shouldn't be able to see your power armor when you're in it and using heavy weapons. Cool. That's a good little change. Propellers on the Vertigard Power Armor Jetpack now animate correctly after leaving an interior. Little thing, but nice. And they fixed an issue that could occasionally cause power armor pieces to appear separate from a player's character model when loading into a world. Not something I have an issue with, but I'm sure for those who live in their power armor, that could be annoying. When placing a set of power armor, the placement preview now displays any attached power armor pieces instead of an empty chassis, which is on the surface of it a little thing, but if you've got a couple of different power armor suits in your inventory in particular, well, obviously I would suggest renaming the chassis so you know which one's which, but you'll be able to see when you're placing it down which one you've got a bit more easily, so you'll be able to tell whether or not you've got the right one out, I suppose. So again, little thing, but cool. The Hair Power Armor Jetpack now correctly displays the flame visual effects in use. Nice. Didn't know it had its own jetpack, but it does make sense. That's cool. Kind of want it even more now. There's another thing about this in a minute as well. So, applying the Camo Secret Service jetpack to T65 Power Armor no longer automatically applies the Camo Secret Service paint to the torso. Whether or not that's avoiding an exploit or just giving you a few more options is, I suppose, open to interpretation, but it is what it is. And vertiblots should no longer stutter while flying through the air, which is always nice. So, camp and workshop changes. There are some really, really cool things in here and things that I know that we've been waiting for a while as well. So brace yourself for this one. Players can no longer open the build menu while interacting with furniture. Build categories no longer disappear from the build menu if a player lacks resources to craft in those categories and then toggles buildable objects on and off. So occasionally when you're building, when you're running out of resources, things started disappearing from the menu. I noticed this a couple of times. Shouldn't be a problem anymore, which is nice. I mean, you could kind of get them to reappear, but it was slightly annoying, and nice to know that should no longer be a problem. Fixed a rare issue that could cause players' stored budget to exceed 100% despite having no items in storage. Odd bug, but not one I saw, but then it is rare, so definitely welcome though, because yeah, the budget itself is exceeding it. It's not just a visual glitch either, so that's definitely a good fix. I'm sure anybody who's encountered that will be extremely pleased to see it fixed. So, the counter for objects that have a build limit, like turrets and lights, should now update correctly. Collectron stations. The gold Collectron has been adjusted so that it now takes up the same amount of budget as all the others. And here's the one we've been waiting for, the first one. Perimeter wall railings can now once again be built on upper floors. So, since Steel Dawn, that has been bugged out, and you couldn't snap those wooden railings in particular, but also some of the others, to upper floor pieces. They only snap to foundations. They've fixed it. It should now snap to upper floors as it always used to. So, thank you very much. Very happy about that. Address an exploit that enabled players to stack bonuses from furniture buffs. Cool, so another cheat out the window. Wonderful. Stairs. This is a nice little addition that I was not expecting at all. Stairs with posts, you know, the ones that have the frame and the mesh flooring attached, can now be stacked on top of themselves. Like, deliberately. It's in the mechanics. Yes! Very happy about this. This will allow players to construct multi-level 2x1 staircases without needing to use the standalone posts. So before we had to use the posts to kind of force it to stack, now it will just do it. In fact, previously they'd taken out the ability to do that almost entirely. You could kind of glitch your way around it, kinda, but it wasn't particularly effective. Now, they should just go straight up there, which is fantastic. I really wasn't expecting that. I don't know why it wasn't always a thing, and I don't know why it got taken out either, but the fact it has returned and is now fully supported and operates properly as opposed to being a kind of a glitch technique is fantastic. That's a real step in the right direction, and there's probably a number of other things I think we'd like to see included in that. I know historically the whole thing with double-sided walls and stuff, Bethesda removed it and then replaced it after a sizable outcry, so it's really, really cool to see them really taking on board this sort of thing and the things we like doing and making sure that that functionality still remains and is not compromised, and in this case is expanded, which is really, really nice. So very, very cool little update. They fixed an issue preventing some objects from being placed on a floor beneath stairs with posts. So putting stuff under those stairs with frames should now be a lot easier. Nice, that's always good. Make your decoration phase much easier. And last but not least, the Free States wall signs now correctly appear under the Wall Decor tab in the build menu. So yeah, a lot of things just little fixes, but there's also a couple of bits and pieces in here that are fantastic, long awaited, and a couple of extra surprises as well, which is really, really nice. So a couple of good little additions there, good little changes. Very, very pleased to see that. So, a couple of changes to daily ops. First and foremost, as they relate to challenges, taking out cultists, blood eagles, robots, etc. will now correctly progress your daily challenge for killing specific types of enemies, which is cool. When you leave a daily op, you correctly return to the location you were at before you headed in, rather than to your last fast travel location. Now, most of the time that will be the same thing, I suspect, but not always, so that's good to see. Fix an issue causing certain daily ops enemies to have lower defenses than intended. This is worth noting because it means certain daily ops are likely to get harder. My guess is blood eagles here. They haven't specified, but that seems likely as they tended to be the squishiest of the lot. So they could be a little bit more formidable than they used to be, so bear in mind. Another word that some might choose to use is bullet spongy than they used to be. So it is what it is. It does mean those ops will probably be a bit harder. So upon completing daily ops, enemies will stop spawning and any that remain will automatically be destroyed. Covered that. New sound effects for eye bombs in the robot faction to help warn players they are coming. Curious as to what sound that might be, but doesn't make a lot of difference to me because they can't hurt me anyway. But nonetheless, those who do need a little extra warning that they're about to be blown to Kingdom Come will now get it. So you'll know before you get blown to bits instead of just being surprised. They've made some improvements to the layout of the Burning Mine and the burrows to aid player movement and reduce disorientation. Now, I have no idea what this could be. It could be small or it could be substantial changes to the inside of these locations. It could just be a couple of little features, like the wooden shacks, for example, coming out of the burrows, or maybe some additional routes might have been added to pass between different locations. So we may well have to relearn those locations. But again, we'll have to wait till they pop up and try it out and find out. Just going in there conventionally won't make any difference because it's an ops only thing, but that's worth noting. There will be changes to those environments as well. Fix an issue that could cause the rare rewards section of the ops report to appear blank after completing daily ops quickly enough to reach an upper reward tier. So you should always see what rewards you've got. I know they've tried to fix this in the past, but obviously without complete success at the very least. So another crack at it is being had here. Fixed an issue with resilient enemies, where they sometimes didn't die after being hit with a valid melee attack. So that's well timed given the previous update. So very, very cool. Happy to have that. Increased the interaction speed of uplinks. This also applies in a way to the decryption game mode as well, the radio interceptors. Both of those activatable items will activate now in 3 seconds instead of 5 seconds. So it should be a little bit punchier, a little bit faster. So that'll be cool. And fix an issue in the Burning Mine that could cause not enough enemies to spawn during uplink mode. So occasionally you could do an up in the Burning Mine and find there are hardly any enemies there. Happened to me a fair few times. Didn't really complain when it did, but now it's going to get harder. So that's worth bearing in mind. These are intended to be group content, so swings and roundabouts. So whilst my initial reaction to some degree is like, not happy about that, I am trying to complete these in a way that they are not intended to be tackled. So it's swings and roundabouts, you know. I have to give it a certain amount of understanding, I think, on that. It is supposed to be group content after all. So, some changes to items. Camo ops, tactical ops, and vintage football outfits now correctly display over the top of armor. Repairing broken armor while it's still equipped no longer prevents that armor from applying its defensive bonuses. I didn't know this was a problem, but if it is, good to know that's been fixed. You might have to repair your armor, have it entirely break, and repair it again before this fix kicks in, or you might not. So if it's something you are aware of and have encountered, be aware of those possibilities as well, I suppose I would say. This is a cool one for those who like certain themed power armor skins. The Hare and Park Ranger power armors now have appropriate damage and radiation resistances. So the radiation resistance in particular I was aware of being a problem with those, but to have that fixed definitely makes those far more appealing. So if you've got it or have been holding off on either of those skins because of this issue, You can either pick it up or start using it and not have to worry about not getting appropriate resistances, which is great. I imagine we'll be seeing a bit more of both of those going forward. Power armor. You can't store that here, error message. No longer appears when attempting to transfer T65 or Strangleheart power armor pieces from one chassis to another. Melee weapons probably take condition damage now when attacking. Bear that in mind, your melee weapons are going to break more often. It's not going to be as bad as, say, explosive weapons and shotguns and the like, which are nightmarish. But melee weapons will now deteriorate faster, so you'll want to be aware of that. The Electric Absorption legendary perk will now work against enemy laser attacks in addition to just general energy attacks. So I suspect this is tied into the fact they added new damage types a while back. I'm guessing Electric Absorption, clearly it was not functioning against laser attacks, it being its own unique damage type now, and now it should, which is cool. So, a couple of UI changes, some of these are quite cool. Fixed an issue that could occasionally cause game controls to lock up when exiting a workbench. That was annoying, so cool. Hopefully it will also apply to terminals as well. Game controls should no longer lock up when using a power armor station in somebody else's camp if they log out while you're using it. That's definitely a good thing, because that could be a pain in the neck. Also somewhat exploitable in a, I suppose, griefing kind of a way as well. So, good to have a shot of that. Rapidly pressing the use button whilst entering power armor no longer causes the game controls to lock up. So if you are spamming that button because you're under pressure, you should not find your game locking up when you're trying to get into power armor, which is cool. Definitely a little fix and situational, but nice. Fix an exploit that could allow players to equip more perk cards than intended. Yes, very good. Get rid of that cheat. Notifications. Fixed an issue on login that caused players' season rank to visually reset to 1 in the menus, and fanfares for all of their previously earned ranks to play in sequence. This has been a persistent issue for a little while, that one, but yeah, if they've successfully knocked it on the head this time, I'm sure they'll be very, very happy about that, anybody who's experiencing it. I've had it happen on occasion in the past, but not very often. It is just slightly aggravating, so hopefully this one will stick. Items received through player-to-player trades and from player vending machines now correctly appear in the new tab in the Pip-Boy, which is cool. And here's a really cool one for shelters. Tutorials. The tutorial pop-up for building inside of shelters will now only appear once, so it doesn't pop up every time you open build mode in a shelter anymore. Hell yes. That was an annoying feature of shelters, so nice to see that one fixed. So, fix several locations that players can see out of the world, fix a number of objects in the world that players could path through or clip into, created several locations where players could become stuck, added some missing radiation hazards to fires inside the abandoned mine shaft in the ash heap, and players can now enter Vault-Tec University whilst on a team, that being the instanced area inside of it. So, quite the long one here. As per usual with the patch notes, they're always substantial, and as such, so are the videos. So, congrats to anybody who's made it all the way through. Very much appreciate your persistence. Yeah, lots of really exciting things here, and a lot of changes buried in the updates and stuff at the bottom, particularly the bug fixes there that I'm really happy about that I didn't know about as well. So, it's really nice little tidbits in there, which are cool. As I say, I've not gone through absolutely everything. I've skipped some of the things that are less interesting, at least to my eye, and just to keep things rolling a little bit. So if you do want to go through it and see whether or not I've left off anything you are particularly interested in, as usual, link down below to the patch notes if you want to check them out, or if you just want to peruse them at your leisure, they will be available for that. So, I will wrap this one up now. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you found this useful and informative. I hope you picked up a few bits and pieces you didn't know about before. No, I certainly did. If you did enjoy the video, please do consider dropping subs and likes. It's always very much appreciated. And do hit that share button as well if you know anybody else who might be interested in checking out some of the content on the channel as well. That massively helps out. I really do appreciate it. If you get the chance, do consider supporting the channel via checking out the social media links, the merch store, and the channel memberships down below the video as well. That is humongously helpful and massively, massively appreciated from everyone who's done that as well. And we'll be jumping back into live streams, getting stuck into all this new content later on this evening with Fallout 76, and continuing on with Remnant from the Ashes after that as well. So looking forward to that. I do hope you will join us for some fun times there. For now, massive thank you very much for watching, and look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.